I've been bitten, I think it's 8 times now down there, through pants. You get scratches, bites, pulling, crazy stalkers that follow you around.
So how does that make you feel, guys, when shit like that happens?
Well, that's one of the emotions we don't deal with.
That's Kelvin Shone and Dan McDonald, also known by their stripper names Jock and Taylor Mack. These guys have been in the adult entertainment industry for 15 years combined, and as you can imagine, it's been wild.
If you've ever seen that game show where you open the door and you don't know what's on the other side, that pretty much describes every job you ever walk into.
But all that action comes at a cost. This line of work goes hand in hand with being objectified, degraded, and pressured to perform in more ways than one. The idea of getting paid a lot of cash to get your kid off and party with a room full of women can be very appealing to young men looking to make a quick buck. But anything that sounds too good to be true often is. There's a lot going on under the surface in this world, and as the boys say, it can get ugly.
So they got coerced into escorting and told that everyone's doing it. You got to do it as well if you want to make your money. And then coerced into gay escorting, even though they were straight men.
They're Beyond Blue advocates who've experienced more than their fair share of pain. All they've been through has made them take mental health very seriously, and they're now stepping up as leaders on a mission to revolutionise the local industry.
Welcome to Young Blood, a podcast all about young men's health. My name's Callum McPherson, I'm a journalist, and this is our mission to talk about the stuff that matters and isn't talked about enough. Let's do it.
Boys, what is the art of taking off a shirt?
Well, there's many ways to take off a shirt.
I think the first part is taking the headphones off and showing you.
Shall we?
I'm ready.
I'm ready. One thing we can do.
Do it together in a duo. All right. Can we stand up for
Far
this?
out.
So jack it off.
Look at this.
Yep. Pop.
Normally it's a little bit slower.
Not
Given the abridged version today.
And the audience is usually not sober, I imagine, as well.
Yeah. So button, slow.
Oh, Lord.
Yep. Little pop movement. There you go.
Do a body roll.
Far out. Bit of music
Down.
as well. It's a bit weird without the music.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know if
Where's
we can
Pony
cue that.
playing right now? So
Yeah.
that off, and then a bit of a pop.
Oh, my days.
Down.
I
There you
think
go.
this
Little
has never
flick.
happened in the
Boom,
studio
boom,
before.
boom.
You throw it between
And then
your
if you
legs.
want to switch 2 legs or even down below.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
Let pop
There we go.
right.
I'll chuck your shirt over here.
Thank you.
That's an important lesson.
Yeah.
And then putting it on. That's
Putting
the
it
one
on.
that takes
This
us
is what we
away.
don't
Putting
know
that
what
on,
to
you
do.
don't
We
have
know
much
we don't do
experience with that.
This is the difficult part for us. As you can see.
There you go. That's much better.
Oh,
Much better.
is that good?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Done and dusted.
All right.
Brilliant. It's getting hot and heavy in here. All right. With that intro, how long have you guys been in the adult entertainment industry?
Oh, I've been in for a while, but I started off as a topless waiter. And so I've only
Is
really,
that often how it starts?
it is almost every time.
The gateway
that starts.
drug.
The
Ooh,
gateway.
it is. It
The
is.
stepping stone. I never thought that I'd be a stripper because I never thought I'd have the confidence at the start when I first seen it. And then I saw a male stripper and I'm like, wow, that's not that hard. I think I can do that.
You're like, he's not even big.
Yeah. Oh, they were big, but I wasn't that big at the start. But then, yeah, just watching and realizing what I thought it was and then what it actually was. Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't that
And you
hard
knew
to,
there was more money to be made doing
a
that.
lot more. You can make it all in 10 minutes as opposed to 3 hours. So
That makes it even hard working a normal job in a normal week. And you go, oh, I made $1,500 on a Saturday night.
Yeah. And it was fun.
Why am I working for $600 in a week? What's going on here?
Yeah.
But between us, we're about 15 years experience. So he was already started before I started because I moved to Adelaide, met Tails, hit it off. We had a good time. You know, it is. And then, yeah, we just sort of stayed in the industry and progressed through.
Yeah.
I moved states, obviously, and then came back. And this is how it's all happened.
So how old were you guys when you got into it?
I'm actually, I think, currently the oldest male stripper here in Adelaide at the moment.
The daddy.
Yeah, the daddy.
The OG.
I've been called daddy a few times. Yeah. I think I started around 32, 33.
Okay, so that'd be pretty late.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And normally, you're looking, that's like the end. And I think I've retired.
What were you doing before that?
I worked at Holden's until that
Yeah,
shut
right.
down. And I remember having my interview, like, what are you going to do for work? I'm like, I want to be a stripper. They're like, we don't have a career pathway for you there. I don't think it's going to work.
You said, I'll make my own.
And they rang me up 2 years later. They're like, how did you go? I'm like, oh, currently the highest paid male stripper in Adelaide. So
There
doing
you
pretty
go.
good. They're like, oh, crap.
True to your word.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Myself, 25. I started doing a little bit of topless waitering because I don't know, I had some sort of just this draw. I was like, oh, I want to try it out, see if I'm into that or whatever. When I was living in Canberra,
What was enticing about it?
that's a really hard question, actually.
Like, what did you think you were going to get out of it?
I kind of felt like I would have been good at it. There was no real ulterior.
You were right.
There's no ulterior motive. Like I was just like, okay, make a bit more money. The shit thing at the time though is when I started doing it, I had a girlfriend.
Yeah.
So as you can imagine, you're not doing it, get a girlfriend. You start doing it midway through a relationship.
Put a bit of stress on the relationship there.
What the hell are you doing, mate? Like, But did that, moved to Adelaide from Canberra, needed a job. So I started fishing around for topless waitering work. And then I met Dan. And then lo and behold, on stage, hand gets lifted. This guy's going to be stripping for you in 2 weeks. And I'm like, thanks for letting me know.
Here we go.
Yep.
Yeah. Have you guys always been party boys?
I've got 5 kids, and so not really. No, I didn't even party or do anything until the breakup. So we had a breakup. I found out the same week I was losing my job. We were breaking up. I'm moving out of the house. Everything all hit me at once, and that's when I'm like, well.
Shit.
Fuck it, I'll become a stripper.
Wow.
Pretty much. So
What a reaction.
it all hit me at once, and I just realised I've been down a path and stuck in a rut for 13 years. For high school sweetheart, we were doing the same thing and moving the same way.
Just going through the motions.
And just going through the motions, and before you realise it, I wasn't living a life. It was just an existence, and I was just going through it, and I wasn't living. I was shy. I didn't even have any of the skills that I needed. Had nothing, no idea what I was getting myself into. But I just I want a more interesting life. I don't want to keep going down the same path. I don't want to change everything. So I just went, fuck it, I'm going to try and do that. And I'll just do whatever it takes to get there. So,
and had you been thinking about that for years at that point? About
no.
Changing everything?
It basically all came at once sort of thing. It was all within like a 3 week spate where everything happened. And then I'm just like, well, I can't go that way because I can't keep doing my shitty day job that I hated anyway. The relationship's gone. Everything's open. There's limitless possibilities. What would I like to do? So there were 3 jobs that I liked, which was the PT, which I do, adults parties, which I do, and I run kids parties as well.
Don't get those mixed up.
Never get them confused. Never.
He's really good at it too.
Yeah.
He's actually very successful.
They satisfy a different. So the reason I did it is because there wasn't one job that I could find that could satisfy who I was as a person. So it was each part of me. So the fitness is the helping people better themselves. The kids parties is that little child that wants to dress up and be the hero on the day. And the stripping was the part of me that hadn't developed yet, that I wanted to be seen in a different way. Yeah, extrovert, because I was a shy person and an introvert. So that sort of pushed me out to
went right to the other side of the spectrum.
Completely. It's all or nothing.
Man, that's crazy. Like, because that'd be a pretty rare story. You wouldn't imagine that someone had lived such a different life and then waited to that age to then totally flip the script.
Yeah.
Kelvin, what was your early 20s like then?
Well, early 20s, I just got out of the army. So I was in the military for 4 years as a combat engineer.
Okay, a very different life as well. That's super disciplined.
I joined when I was 17, so I was already going through a pretty rough upbringing that I never dealt with. So add military training on top of that, kind of just solidifies all the shit at the bottom. I'm not sure if we're supposed to swear on here, but
yeah.
But it solidifies everything.
We just got naked like that.
Yeah. So if you think about emotional angst and stuff you can't deal with, then you got this concrete layer of military training that literally changed your character. So I got that, and then I'm getting out of there, not know how to deal with anything. And like you just asked before, have you guys partied with the boys and stuff like that a lot? I have been back in the day, but to this day now, I don't party for the sake of it. It's more an emotional outlet because I just don't know how to deal with certain things inside.
And what do you get out of partying then, like in terms of that release? What does that do for you?
I specifically, depending on who it's with, if I'm with the boys and stuff like that, it makes me feel better. I don't know what it is.
Free.
Yeah, I think I'm actually feeling more positive. I'm enjoying my time with the boys. I don't care, letting loose a little bit, letting out that shit that's inside because I don't know how to do it in regards to everything else. So as you can imagine, it's that situation can get quite full on.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, it's a pretty typical coping mechanism for people as well, and can be healthy up to an extent.
Yeah. So I don't actively go out and be like, let's go out and do this, because I don't really want to. I don't want to do that. Like, we both want to.
You do it plenty for your job anyway, I suppose.
Well, yeah. But even, we're working and stuff, we try and reel it in as much as possible.
Yeah.
But there comes to a point where you build up quite a bit, and then if you have a few drinks, then it's like a full glass of water. It's just sort of, add a bit more water and it's overflowing.
It was normally vodka, but
A full glass of vodka and it's overflowing,
What does your job involve? Like, walk us through a night, standing night.
There's lots of things that the job involves. So if you've ever seen that game show where you open the door and you don't know what's on the other side, that pretty much describes every job you ever walk into.
Yeah.
And that's part of the things that people either love or hate about the job. Because you could walk in and there's 4 people in there. You could walk in and there's 300 people in there. You could walk in and they're trying to grab you, scratch you, bite you, throw money at you. They could treat you like shit. They could. Or they could love you.
But they think they can do whatever they want.
A lot of the
They
time,
can,
yes.
yeah.
And I've seen ones where women have whipped men with a pole and like, it's okay, we paid for you, we own you. That's not okay.
Has that sort of stuff been said to you?
Well, I'll give you a little quick story, right? This is when I actually first started with Tails. I'm sorry, Daniel. That's his stage name, by the way. Taylor Mack. But there was a table sort of the size of this table. I was doing an army routine, went in forward flipped, and I had, the whipped cream and stuff. And I had this woman come across, and she just fully latched on and bit my nipple. So I was hurt, so she was trying to take it off. So I calmly tried to push her off. I was like, please don't do that. No word from her. She comes back, do it again. I'm like, don't do that. It's hurting me. You're making me bleed. And she was like, I can do whatever I want to you. And I'm just like, I'm a fucking human being. Like, imagine the roles reversed. Female strippers on a bench, and a male even touches, let alone comes over and bites the nipple. They'd be on the floor, ripped out of that club, on the street, probably beaten the shit out of, and in jail. And you know what the worst part about this is, and you're not going to like it. The boss at the time that we work with, I went up and was like, this has happened. Like, I'm not okay with this. It's hurt me to a point where I don't feel it's fair. And he was just like, deal with it.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah, like it's part of the job.
Yeah, and you get, like, I've been bitten, I think it's 8 times now, down there, through pants. You get scratches, bites, pulling, crazy stalkers that follow you around.
So how does that make you feel, guys, when shit like that happens?
Well, that's one of the emotions we don't deal with. I think you go into game face mode where it's work, you keep the persona, you try to be as professional as you can. I don't know if any of us ever actually deal with it. Well, I've done jobs with Dylan, with other people, and I'm like, we're going to deal with this at a later point in time, but right now we're working.
You know what the hard thing about that is though, is we can't actually deal with it. Because if we could deal with it, like, say, if the roles were reversed and actually do something about it, we'd look like the aggressor, right? Yeah. So there's nothing we can do. And that doesn't even
in the moment.
Yeah. What are we supposed to do? We can't manhandle. We don't want to either. That's not in our nature to do so. But if we were, someone was sitting there trying to rip things off me, down below, and I forcefully remove them, who's going to be the bad guy? And we know this. So it's like we're the males in this situation. We can't actually do anything.
Yes, you're relying on people to treat you with some degree of respect, as of course they should.
I feel like some people know that, though. I feel like they know they can get away with that because they know that we won't do anything about it. We can't do anything
that must be the attitude in those cases that you're talking about, where it's like, we paid the money, you're essentially objects for us to play with, and you just have to deal with.
I think the biggest thing involved with that is it's not the situation, but it's actually global. Women are equal, so to speak, in this day and age, but they've been treated like shit over the last couple of decades, right? So they've probably been wolf whistled 20 million times down the street and treated like a piece of meat. Then they come to see us, but they also replicate the behavior they've experienced onto us. But I can hands down tell you right now, I've never wolf whistled in my life. I've never treated a woman like that in my life. But they do it to us. And then if we don't like it, they're like, I've been treated this way the whole time in my life.
Yeah,
how does it feel?
They think it's an excuse.
Yeah.
And of course, it wasn't you who treated them that way.
No, not at all.
I'm sure there are plenty of women that treat you well.
Oh, there are, yes. Yeah, we brush over that one.
Yeah, unfortunately, the negatives stand out more than the
Yeah.
positives, but there's a lot of respectful people, and most of the time that people come to our show, 90 to 95% are amazing.
Yeah,
like
but it is the negative stuff that does stand out.
Yeah.
And do you feel like you just sort of brush that off and try and forget about it?
I think that's the only way. The only way we do deal with it. Like we talk about it, we might joke about it as guys, but we don't ever I think it's the victim card. A lot of the guys don't like to play the victim card for what's actually happened to them. So we sort of play it
because
off
you
with
guys
comedy.
sort of have that same headset too, where it's like, well, I'm the man, so I'm supposed to just cop that.
We're it, yeah. And but I think we all come to the realization that there's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
Essentially, It's just-
I've restrained.
I know
and
you
that's-
have tails,
yeah,
but
well, she was drawing blood with her nails.
There comes
But
to a
you can
point.
make it that isn't appropriate within your own business, and like you said, your boss said just get on with it. That's fine.
Yeah, well, that's where we
you can
draw it.
draw the line with that.
Yeah.
in saying that now, especially now operating my own, or our own, I should say, because Tails is just as a part, he's here. And we actually don't tolerate any behavior that is directed towards our guys because we love our guys. We're a family.
Yeah.
We're very tight. So if I saw that, we even have a female bouncer now. So if I saw that kind of behavior, just because I know I've been through it, I'll be like, out now. No questions.
Yeah, so
just
that's
no
what you can
disrespect. And because the boys can't do anything about it, I don't want them to have to come to me and be like, what's going on? I want to tackle that, get rid of it so they don't feel uncomfortable because they're there to entertain. They're not there to be mauled,
But you guys can change that environment at
Yeah.
least here locally to say that sort of stuff isn't appropriate.
Yeah,
Well,
and
it's
you can
funny you
tell
say
them.
that.
You can tell them, but you get a few drinks into them, and then it becomes like a pack of wolves.
It's
They're
funny.
also eager to throw the money out as well, I suppose.
If they were eager, it's harder to get the money than it is to get the scratches. I tell you, if it was that easy.
Callum, it's funny you say that that we can change that because the goal, actually, one of our goals or one of our mission statements is we actually want to change that stigma. We want to change that mentality within the industry in Adelaide because it's been really bad.
Yeah,
It was bad when we first met and it hasn't gotten any better. So when we made and thought about forming this, we're like, what we want to do is make this a bit classier, better. We want respect towards our clients, but also reciprocated respect. So, and we want to change that mentality, like not to be treated like a piece of shit.
And this is alpha men.
Yeah.
So in your view, what is the definition of alpha and why have you gone with that name?
well, it's not the whole bravado. Alpha man is the big, manly, tough man. It's
Yeah, which
more-
you guys definitely aren't.
Yeah. So maybe this guy more.
Shucks.
It's more about the alpha is like the leader of the pack that leads. He watches over everybody, and watches over every single one of them. And we do that with our own guys, our own pack, and we're very tight with
Protective.
the guys. Protective. You can go a few more.
Yeah, like leads by example though, but like by a positive example, like because that bravado, like look at me, macho man, that's not positive. That's
You
representing.
mean putting on a front?
Yeah, it is. It's not real. It's not real at all. It's more of us, respect and being the leader, being open, and just owning all your stuff, like being a great person, basically.
Yeah, and on that as well, we're trying to, the being real part is our own Beyond Blue story and all the rest of it. So we're trying to open up and show that in your weakness, perceived weakness is showing your emotions and your feelings and that sort of stuff. And that's what we're trying to break down that wall that was
That's
initially
strength.
there. That is strength. So showing who you are is strength.
Does it make it everything harder or everything easier in your view coming at it from that angle? Because obviously that's not what's typically been done.
Yeah,
because
it's
you're trying
very
to break
hard.
new ground, because as you just said before, it's easier to just shut off that stuff and pretend like it's all good and put on that front.
Are you saying in a sense of trying to change the way it is?
Yeah, and trying to operate by
Well,
engaging.
You know what the hardest part is? That we're trying to change things, but we've got a lot of kickback in regards to people that are already established. So there's a lot of old ways still happening, people that won't change, people that want to keep it the way it is, keep it seedy, keep it this and that. We're trying to change it, but with all that kickback involved, it's not really progressing as fast as we want it to be.
But with the other change, the change with the stigma and everything within ourselves, that's where the hard part is. We've had to really go back and look at ourselves, look at each other. So we look at ourselves and the way we deal with things, and I've been forced to look inwards a lot at the way I deal with things and face a lot of things. And COVID has probably been the worst thing that's ever happened because it's forced you to sit at home and think about the things that you would have otherwise buried. and pushed away. So you have to actually look at what you've buried and all the emotions and draw them up. But trying to help the other guys go through things, I've been able to see how we all deal with things similar or different. The ways that a lot of the time we have a wall up. A lot of the guys have a wall up because they don't want to show how they feel, or because feeling emotions is not a masculine thing. So trying to break that down, I've had to try to do it myself, which has been hard because my emotional quota, EQ, is pretty low. It was like hungry, angry, horny were the only three emotions that I can show. So for me to break down, I realized a lot of things in me. Like I've got kids and I struggle to even hug them and tell them I love them because I was that shut off from emotion. So in the last 5 years in particular, I've really tried to change that, break that down to the point where I'll even tell my friends that I love them now, whereas saying I love you used to be something that would make you remember if I ever talked about any emotions and things, my palms would get sweaty and I'd start to sweat just thinking about saying those sorts of things.
It was difficult.
How have you been able to change that?
Pushing myself out of my comfort zone, talking to people. Talking helps a bit, but a lot of the time it's internal reflection, the time that you sit there and think about things yourself and work through things. Talking to the other guys, when you hear other people's things and other people's issues, it's a good way to understand your own, and you understand yourself more by hearing others, and you can sort of see where we all are similar and relate. But I guess
hearing that, it makes you not want to shut down because you say, okay, I'm not a freak. Other people are going through this, so it's okay for me to think about it.
Yeah. I think it's easier for myself to help others with their own stuff.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing for me in regards to it distracts me from my own stuff. But I feel like I'm better at helping other people through their own stuff because when it comes to myself, I actually refuse help.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Daniel's the same. He's gotten a lot better actually. And I think I've improved slightly through his guidance. But if I've got my own stuff, it's all on the inside, it's all internal, it's all shut myself in my room. Even with girlfriends and partners, I'm just like, I don't want your help. I don't want you to
it's just so hard to open up and go to that next level.
I think a lot of the time where I've actually tried to open up and stuff, I just get shat on. Like it just doesn't, feelings get disregarded. Feelings, it's like they get pushed aside and someone else's matters. So I just go back to going, okay, I'll just worry about someone else.
Does that mean you have the wrong people in your life in those moments?
In those moments, I think, but I think I'm working on, I've got some really good people in my life now.
Yeah.
So, and I'm clinging to that. So.
And that's this group. So like the boys, the alpha men boys and the alpha men, that's where we were talking about it before. You feel like you've got people to fall back on, and that backing, whereas before you felt like you're alone and it was just you dealing with stuff that you didn't even know how to deal with, whereas now we all check in on each other every day. Rather than doing the "Are you okay?" we do a number system. So 1 to 10, what's your score today? Because guys, if you say "Are you okay?" Yeah, man, I'm good. No one really wants to tell you that they're going through, or some of them will now, but in the beginning, like if you just give them a 1 to 10, they say 4 or 3, all right, they need some help. Sometimes the help isn't even going around there, just letting them know that you're there. But a lot of the time it's guys don't want to talk directly about anything either.
And when they do speak to you, what sort of stuff are they struggling with?
It's hard. So you normally, there's a lot of things, and to get a definitive answer, it's hard because a lot of the time the emotional, quite like understanding their emotions or why they feel about something, you'll get the full story or other stories, and you have to piece together what's actually affecting them, because a guy won't directly say, this happened in my life and that's why I'm like this, or this is what's upsetting me. It's normally a few things that they sort of tell in a roundabout way.
And you put the pieces together.
You put the pieces together, and it's normally while you're doing something. So dance practice, or when you're doing an activity, tends to be the easiest way to connect with another guy. You can't say, hey, let's have a drink and a coffee, and you can tell me.
But if you go to the gym or something, no.
I think everyone's got their own level of how they share, though, But a big thing that I've noticed, specifically with Daniel and like some of the other boys, like Michael or Eros, his name's Eros, stage name. We've actually started to ask each other more, if we're all right. He's asked a lot, and I think it's nice. It is nice, but the big thing that's a difference is that we're still stuck in the automatic mode of going, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
But you're aware of it.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are very self-aware of
Yeah.
this now.
And we're aware of each other in the group now. So I can tell just by the look on his face when he's had a bad day, bad week. I can tell by the posture in the guys when they're not okay. And they don't even need to tell me they're not okay quite often. But I like to break them out of that. It's not a day. It's not a quick chat. It's not something that happens. And sometimes it's not even anything bringing them down. It's just a mental state that they're in. A lot of us tend to, like the lock-in, tends to be the only way most of us deal with it, where, look, I'm just going to go away for a day, deal with things in my head, and I'll come back the next day. And that tends to be it. And then you come back, you do a training session with them, and you can talk a bit more the next day. But yeah, that tends to be...
Tails is saying he was devoid of emotion for a while. He has been. He has been devoid of emotion, back in the day. And in saying that, I do a Terminator routine for one of my parts on stage. And you know what? Tails should be the one doing it because he lives it. He has lived it. He's not like that now, but he's been there. Like
that was your default to just shut off.
When things got too hard to deal with, I could just switch it off, and you just take a breath, and then everything's gone, and you don't feel happy, but you don't feel sad.
Numb.
You're just completely numb, and you just like And I remember being in a breakup or a situation, and it'd get to that stressful point, and then boom. Okay, I feel nothing. I can act logically. Thank you. Goodbye. Shake their hand. See you later. And then, I don't know, it's like it got put in a basket that I'll have to deal with when COVID hit. But like everything, I think I went through a process, but I didn't even know how to think of emotion. Like if you can't feel anything, how do you know how to process anything? Like you just go back through what I do. Eat, train, go to the gym, like take the kids to school.
Yeah,
it's
but
all a checklist.
it builds up though. It has to. Did you
Yeah.
feel like it was, rising in your
I didn't,
chest? Or
didn't feel
maybe-
anything.
Then that's-
It's like nothing at all.
I think that's the difference between me and Daniel is that he doesn't feel anything. I feel too much.
Yeah.
I get that build up. I can feel it. I can feel it, the rage, the hot. I've seen you there before as well, but I feel that, and that's not being know how to deal with it properly. I used to kickbox for about 10 years, right? Like compete properly, and I think back then it was a great outlet for me in regards to letting out stuff.
Yep.
Haven't done it for a while. Thought about doing it again just for the sake of
Having another
something.
release.
Well, yeah, because I've tried to sort out, go through my childhood, go through my early years and stuff of all the shit that I've been through, and it's just so much to unpack that it's like almost impossible to fix.
Yep.
So I'm trying to sit there and be like, just accept what's happened, move past it. No, it's always going to be there. It's more about management instead of fixing something. It's just managing the trauma instead of fixing trauma. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's the case with trauma and with lots of mental health struggles. It's never fully fixed, but you manage it. It gets better. You get stronger, and that's just what a lot of people live with.
Yeah.
Do either of you guys see psychologists?
I tried to activate a mental health plan with my doctor this year. I went there, and it was probably the worst experience I've had at my doctor's. He tried to tell me to go to couples counselling when he didn't even know if I was in a relationship.
When are you going to go holding your own hand?
And I'm like, no, I'm actually dealing with, at that point, it was a bit of PTSD. I had an accident where I was at a bonfire and I lit myself on fire. Well, I didn't light myself. Someone else threw a match and I was pouring the petrol and I was like a tampon doused in petrol.
Fuck.
And
Nice analogy.
Yeah. Probably the best. I had some scars, to prove it. And it didn't go out. So that was probably the one point where I realized I could have quite easily not been here for my kids, for everything. And then after that, and I've never ever dealt with any sort of emotional issues until then. And there was a point where I was shaking in bed at night, sweating, and it was so frustrating for me. It was angry and frustrated in myself because I felt weak. I felt like I couldn't control my own emotions and feelings. And it was even in my sleep, I'd wake up shaking. And it wouldn't even be nightmares. It'd just be just a feeling, and the worst feeling I think I've ever felt. We've talked about it as well, but it's just
helplessness. Yeah.
Helplessness. Like you can't even control yourself, and you can't even, and sweats in the day. And there'd just be points where I'll be sitting at the dinner table with my kids, and they'll be talking to me, and I felt like I was going to break down and cry, and I haven't heard anything that they've said, and I'm like, I just need to go to the toilet. And so I'm going to the toilet, and I just sit in my bed and just couldn't function. And that, for me as a dad, I feel like my job was to always be the one that they could look up to, could provide, and I'd never burden them with any of my stuff. So I never really even told them that. I just sort of dealt with that behind a closed door.
What did you do with that? How did you go from there to being at a point now where you're doing better?
Well, I had
Hard work.
a lot of hard work. I had a partner that was very caring, is very caring, and she, for me, accepting her help was hard as well. So I've never had someone that's there to hug or even be there for me. So that there was like trying to accept help from someone. I felt a little bit weak at the same time.
Yeah,
That's
and
when
is that a similar reason for you, Kelvin, that you struggle to accept help as well? Is it like a pride thing, or it's a knee-jerk reaction based off your upbringing?
I just feel like my shit is my stuff to deal with, and I have to own that, and like it's my responsibility to deal with myself. And actually, I don't accept help because I feel like it's a burden on others. So that's why I try and deal with it myself. I don't want to burden anyone with my stuff.
That's so typical, though. That's what gets people into trouble, you know?
Yeah.
Trouble is,
Yeah.
had plenty of that.
Yeah. So just go into that a bit. Like, what have you really struggled with?
I don't even like hugs. I don't like to be hugged. You know this.
Me too.
You know, like
So
like,
you guys are operating in like a hyper-sexual environment, but intimacy is a real
Yeah, so
issue.
the intimacy, like there was someone who did hugs, Sarah Cuddles, who did hugs for a living, and she met me at Sexpo and gave me a hug, and I'm like, I'm sweating and I can't do this, like being hugged.
well, it does nothing for us. Well,
Yeah.
you know, like if I get a hug, I see other people hugging other people when they're down, and it's like, oh, they feel better. Someone hugs me, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
feel
It does
awkward.
literally nothing. It literally, I'm like, how long before this hug is over before it's done?
What about in the rest of your relationships in terms of being able to be with a partner, both with the job you do and with this emotional blocks that you have?
I think it depends on the person, but majority and predominantly, we're in such a hypersexual environment, like you said. Everything's so physical. Everything you find it hard to develop an emotional attachment to people, and especially it's unfortunate if you do somehow develop emotional attachment to people, and it turns to shit. It kind of like really just you don't want that.
Puts you back in your hole.
Well, yeah, you just like.
It
Why-
solidifies why you
why?
do what you do, why you keep yourself separate. But I'm in a relationship now, and I'm probably one of the few entertainers that can can be in a relationship, because there's a lot for them to be accepting of as well. The perceived stigma of what we do and what actually happens is probably very, very different. And they think that we're sleeping with everyone that we ever perform for, when really we're doing a 10-minute show, 15-minute show, grab your money, go to the next place. You're putting on a show, essentially performing and entertaining. But
obviously, I mean, you guys totally understand why there is that.
Yeah, well, you know, it's horrible though, because like Taylor said, he's been in a relationship for a while. I've actually just got out of one myself, because it's great to touch on actually how it is to be in a relationship and this stuff. And it's horrible because you're already labeled untrustworthy. You already
before you even start.
And like you'll bust your ass to prove that you're not, or that you are trustworthy, you know.
But you're sort of pushing shit uphill the whole time.
Oh, literally, I love that term because I've used it myself. You know, it's and it is pushing shit uphill, because you know how exhausting and it can be when you're trying to go, I'm a good guy. I do this, I do that. Like I trying so hard, and then but you're always mistrusted. And even when you're told, I trust you, it's to a point where you're like, I don't fucking believe you. And don't tell me that. Just tell me you don't trust me, because I'd love that better. You know, and saying that with relationships and stuff, like Daniel and I have had our fair share while we're in the industry. And for me at this point now, I feel like it's why bother? It's a waste of time. Like it doesn't go anywhere. It's always the same stuff. You always meet someone, they love you, what you do. There's no problem. It's all happy. And then the second stage happens when it's like it starts becoming a problem, you know. And then the third stage, it's like, oh, you got to stop this. And then even the fourth stage is ultimatum. I leave, or you quit, or I leave.
It's that circle.
You know?
And it comes all the way back around almost every single time. Yeah.
I'll get into a new relationship like, this is what I don't want. This is what I am. You have to accept it or not be with me. Do you think you can handle it? Yes, I do. Okay, cool, no worries. And I'm like, this is what happens. Okay, so you're going to like it now.
Yeah, so you do your best to put it out there.
Yeah, but then you're going to get like this and you're not going to like it. Oh, no, it'll be fine. And then you're going to get like this and you're going to hate it and you're going to not want me to do it. No, it'll be fine. You know what happens?
Exactly that. Because as that attachment creeps in, people don't know how they're going to respond, but you do.
Yeah, we've been there 1,000 times over.
Saying that, it's actually it's depressing because I feel like it's just a waste.
Emotionally draining.
But the job's still a priority, means more to you than a relationship at this point in your life.
Well, now that I own my own, you know, and Daniel's heavily invested in this, we're not just entertainers. It's not going anywhere. We can't. I've left for someone before in the past, and it's one of the biggest regrets in my life because she gave me an ultimatum for me to leave with the pretense that it will help our relationship. As soon as I left, it was like, okay, let's change this now. Get rid of your social media. Get rid of this. It's like,
so it was a control
something
thing.
huge, like stopping myself from making $1,500 on a Saturday night. Great income, which is also supporting the person I was with, I'll be like, this will help the relationship. And it's not even 1 ounce of change. Not one, oh, I'm so glad we can be so much better now. It's just boom, straight to the next thing.
Yeah. And I had that too. I quit my job the next day we broke up. I was like, oh, well, then it wasn't the job. Then you realize very quickly it's always that full circle. You know how it's going to go, and you know the time frame. Normally 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. That tends to be it.
And I guess, but it still just depends on the person. It still depends where you're meeting them and what context they're seeing you in. But obviously, in this line of work, it's really tough.
Well, with me, the only reason mine's worked is because she's in the same line of work and she understands what it is. She understands that it is just work, and
does that how it probably has to be?
Not necessarily the work, but I feel like who Daniel's with at the moment, I think she's got a fair understanding. At the beginning of Alpha Men, it was obviously a little bit hard because his attention was obviously brought away. So that's going to create any tension in any relationship when you're used to this and it gets taken away from you, no matter what it is. But once you come to, get used to that, I think she's a very understanding person, to the point that she helps a lot, actually. She believes in Daniel. She helps Daniel, makes his life a lot easier. So I'm kind of jealous, actually.
Does that give you hope?
It just upsets me because I can't find that, man. Like,
doesn't mean you won't, though. Daniel's older than you.
Yeah, but it's just been so fucking long of trying to deal with people, like, fucking hell. It's just hard because you try so hard and then you get nowhere, and it's like, why bother? Why bother? And it's like, you go, why am I doing this? Like, we both, are loving, caring people, and it's just hard. It's so hard because you want to have a normal life.
Yeah, you want to have the rest of the life as well.
You want to have a normal life, but I know it does give me hope. But I'm at a point now in my life where I've lost any faith.
Yeah.
In relationships.
And also, I'll add on to that, with a lot of what we do with work, you see a lot of things. You see a lot of the way people hold themselves and conduct themselves behind closed doors on hens nights and parties and things like that. Not to throw shade at anyone, but you see a lot of the hens nights is their last hurrah to be single, which makes it hard when you're looking at relationships to trust someone when you've seen
the worst of it.
We see the worst of women, and we have to try to act and think the best.
Hens. Yeah, we don't need to go into it.
Yeah, we won't go
we're not going to say anything, but like to the point.
We know what you're talking about.
Exactly. Like, we get, even without being an entertainer, men are portrayed as
sleazy sometimes.
Sleazy.
The ones who cheat.
The ones who cheat, the ones who do all this and stuff like that. It's all open and out there. But what we've seen and in our experience, everyone's the same.
Yeah.
And if that statement is true.
Men and women.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Like, we're all human beings,
I think the big difference between the two is men try to wear it like a badge of honor quite often. Like, I've done this or this. Women won't even tell their best friend. So they'll keep that hidden. They won't tell their best friend or their family members. I reckon it's probably on par, same. If not, we probably see it more in women just because of where we are.
Yeah, but we're all animals.
Yeah, at the end of the
it's
day.
all primal there,
Yeah.
It's just hard. It's hard to be portrayed in a certain sense, and especially if you're not that,
And how has this influenced the way that you guys see yourselves as men?
Well, yeah. How do we see ourselves?
Because you're essentially being valued when you're at work solely for your body. So like, how do you stop seeing yourself as just the body, and how do you perceive yourself?
So for me, I've got my kids and my family and my other life. So with my work, I'm able to keep that as just a persona. It's just a stage persona, how things are and how people perceive me. I don't see myself the way other people do when they see me on stage or see me in photos. That's just...
You're able to put that in that box.
Yeah, so that stays in the box. That's Tails. And Daniel is the take the kids to school, go to soccer, go to all the family stuff, cook dinner. Like it's the...
And that's sort of one of the reasons for a stage name as well.
Yes, and you keep it very separate so they don't
like
track
that
you
alter
down.
ego.
The alter ego. And when times are tough, it's easy. And I see it quite often. The boys will put, and the girls, boys will put all their time and effort into that person, the stage persona. And that's the trap that a lot of them get stuck in, is because that stage persona where everything's going great in your life and you put everything into that, but that's not real.
And that's what everyone sees.
Yeah, but that's not real. So if you get stuck in that, you get no real reward or benefit, and
no real nourishment to who you actually are. But you think, I get more cheap thrills out of this, and I get more highs out of this. So if I can just avoid this,
and a lot of them won't even call themselves by their real name. They just end up becoming that person for a while, and it tends to happen at the start, and then they sort of.
What was the question again? Like, was it like how do you deal with?
How do you see yourself as a man, like from doing this job? Like, how does it affect the way you see yourself as a person?
Honestly, because I don't have what Daniel has, like I don't have that sort of people in my life, so to speak, that make me feel like I'm a normal human being. Because like I go from a night job, I get treated the same outside of my night job. I get treated the same in my day job, which is hard, because like people would know about what I do, so they'll treat me accordingly to that when they don't realize it's separate, and I'm a different person.
How does that look? Well, what's an example of being treated the same way during your day job?
I don't know, like it's just like comments, or
like they're bringing up the stripping all the time.
All the time. Yeah. I mean, I'll get messages on my social media that demean me, that talk about it, or they'll sit there and they'll say stuff in regards to, just the job and stuff. I'm like, come on, guys. Like, I'm actually a fitness instructor,
and a person.
Yeah.
But again, this is another example of, because you portray yourself as being that online and in your other job, people think they can just say whatever they want.
Well, not even just say.
And do.
Well, yeah, because it's not okay to grab me during my day job or anything like that. You're okay to do it. No. But you know what I mean? Like no matter what, this is not just present, but this is past, like it's, people just think that they can treat you like what you do for the night job all the time now, to be honest. And it's hard, because even trying to enter into something new or meeting people new, they already have this predisposed opinion of you.
Because they've looked at your online profiles and they think this guy must be just this.
Yeah. Do you know what I get a lot?
But then that's part of your business to do that.
Yes.
Do you know what I hear? The biggest thing I hear a lot when people meet me is they go, "You are nothing like I thought you'd be." And you know what? It fucking hurts. Because I get it, social media, all that kind of stuff. We're very big on social media in regards to, having it like portray a lot of stuff. But to have people think that about us, it's hard.
And when you say that hurts, why does it hurt? Is it because they should think anyway that you're the good person that you are?
Obviously, like, you don't really know someone until you meet them properly, but it's just hard to have that sort of.
But when they say that you're nothing like I thought you would be, that's a positive. It's a backhanded compliment, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is a backhanded compliment, because it's like it's saying that I'm a nice person.
There's a lot more to you,
but it's like I thought you would have been a piece of shit. And it's like, really, do I look that way? Do I look like I come across that way?
Well, it's just that stereotype, isn't it? It's that trade-off that if you enter into that world, people are going to see you in that light.
But I'd never say that to someone I'd met. I don't go.
No, that's the difference with these special jobs, though, right?
Yeah.
Where people all of a sudden you're dehumanized to a level where the normal rules don't apply.
That word, dehumanized, alone is soul crushing. Cool. Because, I'd never go up to someone in the same industry and be like, "Oh, you're not as promiscuous as I thought you'd be." Or,
you just wouldn't, because you have basic respect.
Yeah, I'll just treat them as I met them there and not even mention it. I'll just be like, "Hey, you're a nice person," but.
Well, a different example, but like I was a news reporter for years, and we know how much the general public doesn't like the media just because of, they believe the hype and you're not meant to like the media or whatever. But all the junior reporters are just doing their job and doing what our boss tells us to do or whatever. But we'd always be out at jobs and people would take time out of their day to come over and be like, fuck you, you vultures, like, you know, and they think they can say that because you're doing a job that's a bit different to the norm. Jesus. But it's like, I wouldn't walk into your job and have a crack at you for something. You don't know me.
It's not like you're a current affair or anything.
Yeah. I wasn't. I mean, sometimes it's probably appropriate. Cut that out. But I mean people who aren't even involved in the story or whatever. They just see a camera and they're like, fuck you, and like attacking you for the person you are.
Yeah.
It's like, man.
You think they would act better because those cameras are there.
Well, no, they don't give a fuck. But I guess some people just want attention. But it's a bit different. But that's sort of a similar feeling where it's like, you don't know me at all, but based off your idea of me that you're getting from something else, you think that you can just treat me in this way.
Yeah.
So you have some sort of aspect in regards to how it would feel, you know?
Like, I get that as well. A lot of the time people, when they first look at us and they first see us, but then when you actually speak to them, they're like, oh, you're actually real people. I'm like, oh yeah, and I shop and I buy food and
what did you think?
I go to the toilet,
clothes.
I wash my clothes, I do normal things. I've even like got petrol before, and they're like, oh my god, I didn't realize you got petrol. I'm like,
why didn't you
how
realize
the hell
that?
do I drive my car? Like,
it's a crazy disconnect where like people live in some fantasy world where they think other people are so different to them.
Yeah.
You know, like why would you be?
All similar, all the same stuff.
Do you guys think that maybe social media has a massive influence on all this?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's why you're getting that reaction and why people even know that you do stripping. Because back in the day, you had a nighttime job like that. If you weren't posting photos all over media, most people wouldn't know. But because like that's your profile, people already assume that they know you and they can come up to you and you're this way. So of course it does.
Don't get me wrong, it has its positives.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
You know, you got people. We were talking about this before we saw you, Callum. People walk across the street and they'll be like, "Oh my god, it's you, Eros," or "Oh my god, Tails," "Oh my god, Jock," and all this kind
and
of
you
stuff.
like that.
Like that one,
Well,
we like that one.
We've actually become quite what's the word? Like accustomed or
used to it?
Desensitized to it.
Yeah.
To the point because
it happens really.
Like, for example, one of our guys, Eros, he's quite fresh into this in regards to he hasn't been experiencing this level of stuff ever. So he's like, holy crap, Daniel, this is ridiculous. I can't walk down the street.
Like,
people walk up to me.
Yeah.
But Daniel and myself have had experience in it, so we don't actually recognize it anymore. So I'm like, oh, I know you. And we're like, yeah, good.
But that part of it, like, you know, especially earlier on, you know, it's a bit of a thrill. There's the positives. Obviously, you get to be the center of attention. I'm sure. And we're talking about the heavy stuff, but there's a lot of fun involved. That's why you got into it in the first place. But surprise, surprise, you got to pay the piper.
Double-edged sword. You got to take the good with the bad. And once you learn, so I'm okay with it now. Once you learn how to like deal with it, and I've dealt with a lot of shit cunts, for lack of a better word.
It's a good word.
Deal with a lot of bad. But you just, in the end, that all goes into the mix. And if you can look at it for what it is, there's more good than there is bad. There's better people than there is negative people out there. So it's not so bad. And I can block out the bad people quite easily now. You're like, yeah, cool, no worries. I can turn a no into a yes. People that don't hate me, once they speak to me, they're
not easy to arrive at that point, though.
Yeah, it takes a bit of work and a bit of effort. But
when you say pay the piper, so to speak, it's quite interesting you said that because when you get to the level of like where we're at and stuff and what we've experienced, and you don't have a proper outlet to how to deal with it properly, that's when actually a lot of negative stuff can come into play.
Yeah.
Okay, you got alcohol, you got drugs, sex, what have you, you know, like, and it's actually a concern for us because this is starting to happen for us here in Adelaide. We obviously don't want any of the boys to go through what we've potentially gone through. Daniel's been in a very dark spot in his life that he's talked to me about, and I've also been there. Like, I've also been in a point where I'd be drinking all the time, and you know, drugs are involved, and you're really low and stuff because
you didn't want to deal with it.
You're just getting, it's like a tug of war, and you're in the middle, and you're just getting ripped apart. You know, like, and it's very difficult to deal with. And I think you have to go through it to really get used to it. So,
and you know, doing the drugs and running from it and drinking and stuff and having meaningless sex, it's a good way to not deal with it.
Yeah, and it covers. It's like a Band-Aid over a big gash.
And also, it's right there all the time, more so than for other people because it's comes with your job or can
more
come
so
with
than
your
you
job.
think. It's actually thrown in your face.
Yeah,
to the point where people want to give you everything.
Yeah,
you know, normal
and think
human
that
beings
you
don't
should
have
want that because again, you are from that world.
Yeah.
You are this person. We see you this way. Therefore, of course, this is all part of it. This is why you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a difficult one to deal with, actually.
And I think that's where we're trying to change the culture and make sure within our boys that we're actually talking and dealing with things on the front level and internally. So that the way we look at it, like if we can deal with our stuff ourselves and within the group, then they won't have to turn to substance abuse or everything else.
Well,
to
you
be
got to
the
lead
Band-Aid.
by example.
And so, that's how we're trying to do it at the
What
moment.
does happen with the young guys, or what have you seen happen where these guys come in, they're looking for fun, they're looking for status, they're looking for a quick buck, and they're naive and they're unaware of some of the shadier aspects?
Yes.
We actually, sorry, but because Daniel and I have been down that path, and we've been down to the, I'd say rock bottom, both of us, so, to an extent. We love and care for our guys, especially everybody that's with us. We don't want them to experience that, so that's why going on what Daniel was saying is like we're trying to implement the talking and the number system and always being open and stuff, so they don't feel the need to have to get that low.
When we first started, the group dynamic wasn't the best. That's putting it very delicately there. So basically, when we started, the young guys that would come in would get coerced into escorting.
This is not Alpha Men, by the way.
And this is not
This
Alpha
is when
Men.
we started.
When we first
in the
started,
industry.
we won't name.
We refused that to happen for us.
So they got coerced into escorting and told that everyone's doing it. You got to do it as well if you want to make your money. And then coerced into gay escorting, even though they were straight men. So they were getting pushed into a line of work that they quite often didn't want to be in, didn't want to do. And the ones that did it were thinking everyone else is doing it. This is what I'm supposed to do. And you could see that affect a lot of their mental health. Some of them really went on a downward spiral, quit, drugs and everything. And when you've done
rehab,
things,
seen guys go so far down.
Because they had to compromise who they actually are, because they got tricked into doing
and
something.
they try to find a way to be okay with what they did.
To justify
it. But you can see that they can't process it. They can't be okay with it. They don't know how to cope. So more substance, more whatever, and keep going down the path, that downward spiral.
It's like a spiral. It's like a hurricane.
Did you guys get pressured into doing stuff like that?
We did,
or?
but I was a little bit older, a bit more mature, and I knew who I was as a person. So I made sure when I was within the group, I made sure the other guys knew that's not on, it's bullshit. And it was really the boss at the time.
But you're a man in your 30s at that point.
Yeah,
so
I wasn't
for a 19-year-old kid, it could be a different story.
I was obviously late 20s, like getting there. And I remember Daniel having a talk to me about it, but I was at the point where I was like, that's never me. I'm never going to be like that. It's not on my agenda. I never would want to anyway. And there's no amount of money that anyone could pay me in the world to change my morals or my views on that. I mean, and it was offered a lot. And it's like, sorry, you can't buy me.
Yeah.
I'm not I've seen it. I don't want that.
Yeah. For me, I have 5 kids, and for them to think of me like that would be the worst thing. For them to even hear about any of that, like that would, like, that's what Dad's doing. And I had rumors go on, spread about me about that after the fact, and the same thing. And I'm like, look, that's people who know me know that's not what I'm about.
When it wasn't even happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's a dark picture of where it can go, and that young men can find this pretty appealing because you're essentially going to get paid a lot of money to get a lot of attention and be sort of worshipped, getting your kid out, having a fun time. That's how you see it. But there's this other side to it which people need to know.
A massive rabbit hole.
Yeah. And that whole, like, the industry as a whole in Adelaide was going on that downward spiral a lot. And that's why as entertainers, performers, we see ourselves as different to that and trying to separate that whole, like, big divide between the two, keep it more professional services, and
you can have one without
performing,
the other.
and you don't have to do all that. So we want to create as much distance between the two and show you that you can have class and perform and dance. You don't have to do all of the other side stuff.
And then adding on to what Daniel said, now that, like, I and with Daniel have created Alpha Men, we actually have a filtering process now. So we don't want that in our crew. And we never are going to have that. So guys that will come to us, because there are that have, and there are that still will, they'll want, I can get laid quick. Oh, I can make money, I can get drugs, I can sell drugs here, I can do this and that. We don't want any of that. We want wholesome, nice guys that gel well, that can join a family, and we're actually really good at it.
Yeah.
We know what we don't want. We've seen what we don't want, so we can actually filter it really well. And we can, especially Daniel, can see through people very well.
And there are nice blokes who do this who then get turned into something else or tricked into doing
and that's what
they
we're
don't
not
wanna do.
we don't want that whole trick someone into doing something. We'd rather build them up as a person, build them up as a performer, and build them up that way, rather than you can make a quick buck if you do this. You just don't tell anyone.
We've seen the most innocent people go down that rabbit hole, you know, and not everyone has strong willpower. So especially have someone sort of coercing you into it, let alone just the natural stuff coming down, coercing you into maybe like all the, what do you call them, demons or temptations that will be trying to pull on you. If you have someone coercing you as well, you know, instead of the opposite.
You'll probably do it.
If you've got mentors or you've got people that are leading you going, no, this is not good. We don't want you to be like this. We don't want that for you.
Yeah.
We can actually help people that will maybe naturally be drawn.
And the other reason I saw was people struggling to pay their bills and survive. And that's like, you're struggling to pay your bills. You can't survive if you've got a kid or you got whatever, and you're just trying to live. You could make $1,200 if you do this. Sell yourself, and I've seen it. And I can't pay my bills this week, so I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is implement other ways that they can make money, other ways that they can do it, and help them in other ways, rather than the quick buck fix that's going to fix you this week is going to be a long-term detriment to who you are and your mental health as well. So the quick buck, and I've seen it, and that I can already think of about 3 names, but yeah, the quick buck to help you survive this weekend is just making the next pay week.
It's a slippery slope,
the next one.
Yeah.
Very slippery slope.
This stuff comes with a catch.
Yeah.
Always. What about the pressure to be the body? And I'm talking about steroids and all that sort of stuff, because obviously you have to look a certain way.
Yep.
You have to keep that up. And that's not easy to do.
It is not easy to do. I'll openly admit, I do take steroids at 37. My body doesn't produce natural testosterone like it used to. And there's no way I could maintain any sort of physique. To do it, the mental strain, the physical strain, you have to always be in shape. Like every time you take your shirt off, everyone's looking at you to see if you're in shape. So
and staying like that year round is just about impossible.
It is. And that's the hard part, like the mental struggle, the physical struggle. You're trying to stay in optimal shape. Like the bodybuilders are only maintaining like 5-6% body fat for a couple weeks
for a stage show,
then go back to normal. Whereas we have to stay under 10% for year round
all the time.
And it's you go through stuff. You might binge eat or whatever, however your coping mechanism is, and then that's why training has to be a part of that. So training is, a lot of the guys that do succeed and thrive in this, training is their coping mechanism. That's their outlet. You train. I know Kelvin does a lot of boxing and that sort of stuff as his, and that's how he maintains his physique. But like if you drink or you party too much, obviously it goes one way, and then you have to diet. So it ends up being extreme dieting tends to be the norm.
Yeah.
And it's not
because
good.
it's an extreme result. You know, people don't just look like that.
And I've nearly fainted numerous times before I've gone on stage. Even
you and your bloody keto diet
from dieting and stuff.
From dieting. If we've got a photo shoot coming, and because you've let yourself go through COVID was a perfect example. Let myself go for a bit, and then I had to bring myself back in to be in tip-top shape for a photo shoot.
Because you can't not, because that's your business.
Yeah, and you take a photo of yourself, that's there for your promo. And
what does the pressure of that do to your head over years and years and years? Because obviously it's something like, especially when you're younger or first starting out, you do it for a few years, it's the top priority. But then when it's getting into like decades and stuff, and you're not a pro bodybuilder, but you're just having to stay shredded all the time, you know,
draining is probably the best word to describe it. Mentally draining. You'll have like moments where you let yourself go for a bit, and then you look at yourself and you can't take your shirt off and charge money for it.
Yeah, and you associate who you are with being that physique as well. So what's your take on that, Kelvin?
Myself, just starting from the start, I've tried back in the day in regards to taking supplements, but obviously I wasn't in a great headspace, and still to this day, like I know that it wouldn't be good for me.
It doesn't help. Yeah.
I'm naturally quite a fiery person. Kickboxing, boxing background. I don't really
it changes your brain.
Well, yeah, it put me in a place where I'd probably just get into a lot of trouble. So I've stayed away. In regards to the mental state, I think it actually, in our industry, you develop body dysmorphia.
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm talking about.
I think I'm skinny.
Yeah.
No, I
show us your arms and tell me.
I actually do. I see myself in the mirror, and I'm like, fuck that shit. Like, I'm like, work harder, do something, you know, like.
Because the pressure that you put on yourself is so extreme and so out of the norm. You know, that's what I'm
And
pointing.
how do you look at all of us? So on that dysmorphia, every time I
Well,
look at you, I'm like,
this
look at this guy's massive. And you're like, look at this guy, he's massive. We look at each other and see what we like in the guy next to us.
I think you're a tank.
I look at you.
You're like bloody Frank the Tank.
arms.
But you know, people watching this would be like, "Is this guy fucking serious?"
Yeah, maybe, but like,
No, fucking definitely.
I've even had people like, you know, girls would be like, "Oh, this is the best body I've ever seen. You look great," and that doesn't even register in my head anymore.
No.
I don't even take it. I'm not. Oh yeah. I'm just like whatever. Bullshit.
And I look at you, I'm like, oh, I wish I looked like that. And you've like, you and Eros, fuck you guys. Look at you.
I'm like, I wish I had a chest like this guy. Look at this guy's traps, you know. And even look at you, Kel. I'm like, oh, he's pretty in shape. This guy, you know, like, and then never actually look at myself. Like, I don't know. It's actually hard because I feel like it's getting worse.
Yeah, because it's just so much pressure to put on yourself because it is that diet and the training and if the more you associate your identity fully with that, the more you can't let it go.
Yeah.
You know, I think the only positive benefit out of having that though is that you'll always be striving to be better.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, you're not fat. You're in fucking good shape. But
Yeah. Like you're never going to sit there and go, "Oh, okay, I'm content."
No.
Like if you think you're not good enough, you're always going to be trying harder.
yeah, but again, that's a slippery slope too. Man.
It is
You gotta,
because then it could lead back.
because then
into-
you still got to love yourself. You still got to appreciate what you are.
One day. We'll get there one day.
You know.
Yeah, I think that's probably the hard part is like not one of the guys, as much as you might think the strippers love themselves. When you're out there on stage, and I've shown pictures of the guys and videos, they don't even identify as that person on stage.
No.
That's their persona on stage. And Eros, we were having this discussion only the other day, and he's like, that's not me. The person on that stage is in command and has power and everything. And you look at yourself as just a normal person.
And
that
it doesn't transfer over.
No, I think every single one of our boys probably has, not probably, they do have a negative self-view,
Yeah. Agreed.
including myself and Daniel.
Yeah.
So why do you stay in it?
We know we're good,
Yeah,
but specifically for alpha men, we're not in it to you know, like for us to feel better. It's more so we actually want to change. We want to change things. We want to, like we were speaking about before, big advocates for Beyond Blue. We know how it feels to feel shit, and so we want to actually build a platform where we're so popular that we promote something good that actually helps other people because we know how it feels.
So you feel like you have an opportunity to make a
yeah,
difference
yeah.
and still do something that you're really good
and
at.
on that as well, mine comes to a lot of my philosophy of who I am in life and everything. Because eventually we're all going to die, but it's the memory of us that lives on. So you die once. When you die for real when the memory of you fades out.
at least leave something behind.
Leave something behind. So I do kids' parties as well as adults' parties to create a memory with other people that's going to live on long after I'm gone. The event, the night, the atmosphere, the feel, and everything. So for me, I feel like putting that out there and being that person that's going to be my legacy that lives on when I'm no longer here. So for me, it's more about the other people and connecting with them and having that memory with them that they're going to remember forever. So that's really, that's why I do it.
How long can you do it for? Because people would think of it
38.
as, you know, people would say it's a good time, not a long time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 32 now, and I kind of want to be in a position where I'm just teaching and leading and helping by the time I'm 35, 36.
Yeah.
I want to cut it before it gets to a point where I feel like I shouldn't be doing it anymore.
If you guys are running it but not actually doing it anymore, do you think it'll get to that point?
Well, that's the goal, and I think we're already getting there. You know, we're getting to a point where we want people to overtake us. We want people to learn off us, adapt, and really, really like basically we're going to mentor people to the point where they're going to be better than us. We don't want to be always. We're not like that in our head. We're like, oh, we always want to be the best. We want our boys to be better, be the superstars. We're there to help and guide positively and help them throughout their time and make it better so we can actually just sit back and manage.
And leave our
grow.
positive footprint. So when we're gone, we'll leave a footprint where people like they've changed it for the better and not left it
That's
on
how it should be done.
And that's how everyone should live and that's how it should be. Should, but doesn't mean that's how it normally
Well,
is.
we're not financially motivated
No.
here. like when we started, we were like, we're not going to let this become something that we just want to go, oh yeah, let's build this, build that, and walk away. You know, we want to build something that's going to last forever, and we want to build something that's going to change this industry
Positive.
forever.
Yeah, a positive change.
Has a lasting effect.
Yeah, so this really
Like a ripple.
means a whole lot to you guys, like on a very deep level. And I think that's interesting for people to see, because they would assume that, you know, you can't love that industry, or you can't feel like you're going to have some higher purpose in that industry. You know, it's cheap, it chews you up and spits you out, and there's no way that it's as deep as you guys are making it out to be.
The thing is, though, I don't think that many people think like us too.
No.
I don't think there's anyone out there that wants to do this like we want to. I think they're in it for
short term,
their own self, or they're in it for money. Or, you know, like they're not there to want to change things. And coming from Melbourne, working in Melbourne, you do get chewed up and spit out. I got chewed up and spit out. You know, you get treated like a business. The way the business works is it's trying to replicate McDonald's. You know, it's not about
factory line.
Yeah, it's not about quality. It's just about quantity.
Yeah, and there'll always be another one to fill your spot.
We never want to do that. We're about quality over quantity. We want to provide the best, keep the best, and never turn it to like conglomerate kind of thing.
and also develop other assets and facets of the people. So you've got like modeling, acting. So a lot of the guys in our group are models or have done modeling, runway model, fashion models, bit of acting, nude life drawing. You got other events.
He's the master of that.
Yeah. I've done.
He's the king of Adelaide when it comes to nude life drawing.
There's a whole lot of portraits of you around the place.
He's just like this. He's like, yeah.
Someone who used to be
Draw
shy,
me.
paint me like one of
One of
your
your
French
French
ladies. But I used to be a shy guy. I'd never take my shirt off, so I've gone like full other end of the scope. But we want to try and develop as many things, like a professional dance troupe, hosting trivia nights and other things as well, so the guys can actually diversify and learn other things, and also like product sponsors,
Have other
promo
options.
models, other ways, and like we're talking about more avenues to make money, in a cleaner, more business
But
sense.
still performing, which obviously you guys love.
and that's-
There's obviously something
well-
about performing that you love.
Well, I think we're just born entertainers. I remember when I was like 10 years old, went on a family trip to Malaysia. And while I was there, I got approached to perform on stage doing a circus act like trapeze. I didn't even ask to do it, but the guy approached me. He must have seen something in me. And I've actually told you this story, eh? So 10 years old, I'm sitting there spending my holiday learning the trapeze. You know, learning. I came to a point, families in the audience for one of the show nights, and, you know, there's people there, and I'm up on there doing, you know, swings and grabs and shit like that. And I'm just like, the fuck, how am I doing this? Like, how does this happen? Like, and I feel like it's just deep down, I know I'm just a born entertainer, because even when I get in the acting and stuff like that, I love it. Like, I actually feel good. I feel good, and I feel like I'm in the right spot. I feel like I'm home. You know what I mean? And Tails is the same. He's theatrical even in his day-to-day life.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know.
I think mine came on in my 30s. I was the shy guy. I couldn't even play guitar in a group at school and look up. I'd have to look to the ground, and like I couldn't even, up until I hit 30 and everything changed for me, like my big life change. I couldn't even be looked at without freaking out.
I think that would have came out earlier though, because Daniel had kids very early, and I feel like he's done the right thing. Obviously, he's had kids. He's prioritized that. I've never had children, as far as I know. You know, but
You did.
Check you down now.
oh my god, he's the father.
Yeah, but you didn't get to explore
He didn't.
yourself.
No, because when was your first kid? 20.
19?
See, you know,
20, just turned 20.
I was in the army when I was 19. Shit. So he's obviously always had a higher purpose in his life where he hasn't actually had a chance to blossom himself. Because if he didn't have that, I felt like that inner self would have came out a lot earlier.
So given that you guys have that love for performing, and it's your thing, do you ever see yourselves just performing in a different way with a different outlet?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'd like to.
Like obviously, you're trying to do acting.
Well, yeah, I've been on 2 Australian TV shows: The Code season 1 and 2, Secret City season 1.
Yeah, I know that.
And also before I moved from Melbourne back to Adelaide, I was actually at the Melbourne Fringe doing a theatre play.
Yeah,
so that was
cool.
good. I had to portray a a guy that was on The Bachelor, so a real douchebag.
That
You want this?
That would,
you think you can have this?
would have been tough for you.
But you know,
It's a big stretch. A big stretch.
This
is what we're talking
This is literally what we're talking about.
Fuck you, man.
Like, I got that. Everyone was like, "Oh, that must have
that's the
been
guy.
so easy to play for you." I'm like,
No, I'm a nice guy.
I was like, "Fuck,
I
man,
know.
what do you think of me?"
I know.
You know,
It's a joke. It's a joke.
I know you guys are.
Yeah.
But I actually got that in the
Yeah.
crowd and stuff like. They're like, "Oh, that must have been so easy," and I was like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, but see, you know, it's performing that's the thing.
Yeah.
That you love. So it's interesting that it can branch into other things probably later.
I do have a dream. Obviously, it's quite hard, but I'd love to get more into the acting. It's a very, very, as you would well know, especially working in Channel 7 and stuff, it's a difficult, very hard thing to get into. I mean, Adelaide, I know Adelaide film industry is getting a lot better because it's multifaceted. They can shoot in different aspects, bush and stuff like that. But it's, I don't know.
We did our cooking show.
Yeah, we've done a cooking show.
You were naked, weren't you?
No, just topless.
Just an apron. You might turn around their asses around.
Is that hygienic?
Well, everything was washed and cleaned. It was COVID. We made sure we double cleaned
Everything was washed and clean.
Everything.
But yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I'd love to get back into that properly, you know. But
Cool.
we're definitely born entertainers.
Yeah, I can tell.
Through and through.
I can tell. I think we can all tell. What's the power of guys in your position speaking out about mental health?
Ooh. Wow.
Shit.
Like, what do you hope comes from having these conversations and putting it out there? That
Dialogue. So change has to come from with us, and then it expands to the group around us and then the others. So obviously we change within ourselves, and hopefully we can help the others around us. And that's the next part. Part 2 is when the people around us start to look inwards at themselves and the friends and the people around them and change. But it isn't an easy task. It hasn't been an easy task for us ourselves to go through. So I know everyone else that's going to have to go through it isn't going to have an easy step or an easy footing.
I think a great outcome would be for more men to realize that it's not so bad to express yourself and try. But from my experience, I feel like you just need to choose who to express yourself to, because you can get burned. And it can actually have a really negative side effect, really bad effect that will make you not want to open up more, you know? So I think with the Alpha Men crew, I'm more than happy to talk about anything. And I love that. I love that. It feels good, you know, even talking to you about stuff here is great. But I've got to choose. I've got to choose my battles there in regards to that, even to this day, because it's still hard on myself, but let alone, you just got to find the right people to know that they support you and that's out there. Hopefully it works.
And I think a lot of the time you don't realise someone's struggling until you see them actually hit rock bottom. And I'm going to throw you under here. When we met in the Gold Coast for that competition or whatever, and you didn't sleep for how many days, and we're in a bad mental state, and we're ready to. Well, I'll let you tell your story rather than me tell it.
Yeah. Well, top floor of the Q1, is it? The Q1.
Yeah. Yep.
Was this after Manhunt? After it finished?
That was after it
I think it was
finished.
after, and like I
I
came second runner-up in Australia for it, so I should be over the moon. But I'm actually sitting there with a window open, 16 floors up, on the precipice of going, I'm about this close. Why not? What's the fucking point anymore? You know, felt like shit. I was in a relationship at the time that wasn't really working at all. I was half the size I am now. Not healthy.
Just felt empty.
I was just like, the easy option is to jump.
Yeah.
But you know what? I love my family. I'm not that much of a selfish person. It would fuck my friends' lives up. It would fuck my family's life up. And if I actually wasn't if I was a selfish person to this day, I probably would have done it, to be honest with you. Just because I was like, fuck this. You know, like, what's the point? Sorry, getting a little bit fucked up here. It's, how would I say this? A little bit of pain for, it's not much. It's not much, and done and dusted, you know. And that was thinking in my head. But, you know, good family, good friends.
And
I'm not willing to fuck everyone else's life up just for me to, because I can't handle anymore.
And you say it's selfish, but it wouldn't be fair to say that all people who take their lives are selfish. But
No.
but you would understand that people get in that headset where some of the things you've mentioned, they think of themselves as a burden. They think that the world would be better without them. These sorts of thoughts go through their head.
I had that,
and often that can be a motivation. So you got to have some sympathy for that too.
I definitely don't. I agree with you. I don't think it's selfish in a sense that not everyone has a great family. Not everyone has great friends. They might have nothing. That's not selfish. They've just had enough, so they just, it's hard. I know how it feels, I've seen Daniel in a bad way. I couldn't even get contact with him for like 3 days, and it's
a blackout.
He gets into a real bad state when he's not good.
They just wall up. And I think that was about the time. I've got a few stories, but the one that really rocked me and hit me hard was my daughter. She was going to school for the last day of school, and I found a suicide note in her pocket, saying goodbye to all her friends. Obviously,
That cut you up.
Feel
as a
like you
father.
failed, that was pretty hard. And then had to go through all the mental health stuff with her, and realized that I'd had a wall up. I didn't want to burden my kids with what I'd been through, so I didn't tell them that Dad had problems or Dad had the same feelings or thoughts, so they couldn't relate to me. It was basically, Dad's a robot. Dad has no feelings, thoughts, or emotions. And then I'm like, I need to open up to them, but not obviously tell them everything. And then sitting there at the hospital with my daughter while they're like trying to talk to her, and I'm like, you're not alone. And she felt like she was alone, the same feelings that we all feel. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. Everyone feels like they're going through their own battle alone, and it's just them. But that's why we try to be there for each other, and that's probably the biggest thing, is just people knowing that there's someone there. Telling your story to someone can help them realize that everyone has a story. Everyone is going through something, their own battles, their own stuff. And I
owe this man a lot, because I don't think I'd actually would have got home from the Gold Coast back to Melbourne if I literally got home.
You wouldn't have, hey?
Because I was in such a bad state. I was just off my head. I couldn't even think straight. And he actually packed my bag, sorted my stuff. He booked a taxi. He actually made one of our other mates, Nathan, who lives up there, come with me to make sure I got to the airport. God knows how I got in the plane, but he's very generous and always there for a lot of people. I feel like that's a big thing for a lot of people that have felt a lot of pain, that they know how to be there for others, but not necessarily themselves.
Yeah. You guys obviously have a really strong bond. Yeah. And it sounds like you do with the rest of your crew as well. And that although there's some real struggles there, there's a lot of positivity and love there as well. Do you feel like if you surround yourself with the right people and you're aware of this stuff that you're going through and open to it and helping each other, that you can change from a negative mindset to a positive mindset?
Yeah, I do. I think that's what we're really pushing for now.
It's a slow process.
If you don't, we're going to be stuck. And the worst thing is to be continuing down that path. Like, if you do nothing and change nothing, you're going to get the same result. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting a different result. So by trying to push for change, it's hard to force yourself out of your comfort zone and to talk about, well, it's hard to talk about things, isn't it? It's really hard, but by doing that, you start the process of change. And if you don't force yourself and help, I force the guys a little bit, push them a little bit to be a bit more open. But yeah, if you don't start the process, then nothing will change.
And you can't change without pain and discomfort, but refusing to change is a lot more painful in the end.
Yes.
It's a good way to say it. Yeah, I'm confident that no matter what all of our boys go through, that I think we all are well aware that we've all got each other's backs. Just the amount of love that we show each other, and every time that we always catch up together, it's so positive and powerful. I've even been in the shittest moods, and it's uplifted me, and I know that's the same for everyone else. And I know for a fact that it's going to be good no matter what. So
I think you guys have worked out what the blueprint is to make life better and make life better for those around you, and you're taking the steps to make that a reality. And that's all we can ever do, rather than running from it or avoiding it or burying it deep down. You guys are aware of what needs to be done, and you're doing it, and it's hard and it takes time, but that's normal.
I just hope it has a flow-on effect outside of our family. You know what I mean?
It will.
So it's not just us, but people can actually, hopefully they'll see this and they'll recognize that, you know, they'll learn from what we've said, and they'll see that if you surround yourself with those good people, it'll help.
100%. That's what will happen. That's why we do this, because, you know, guys who look like you and do what you do aren't meant to say this stuff, but that's what makes it powerful. And that's what changes that mentality until, you know, one day people aren't getting their nipples bitten off and, you know, because
scarred to this day.
We're all people, and we all deserve that respect. And true strength is telling it like it is and not running from your problems.
Yeah. And I don't do cardio, so
liar. Lots of cardio.
Yeah, lots of running from stuff. They're not anymore. We're trying. It's hard, like you said. It's not an easy. Oh, you do this, you get that. It's a continual process.
Nothing worth doing is easy.
No, but personal growth comes from all the hard times that you go through.
If you're a fan of the work we're doing or have a suggestion for the show, please rate us on Apple Podcasts and leave a comment.
You can follow Youngblood Men's Health Matters on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube, and visit our website youngbloodmedia.com.au to stay up to date.
And most importantly, if this conversation resonated with you, share it with someone you love and start a conversation of your own. A huge thank you to our local business supporters who've joined our mission to change the lives of young men for the better and help make this possible. We're all in it together.
This is Youngblood. Thanks for being part of the mission. Catch you next time.